My parents want me to die so my brother can go to college. I heard them talking in the kitchen last Tuesday night. I was supposed to be asleep, but I'd come downstairs for water. Mom's voice was quiet but clear. If something happens to him, at least Brandon could finish school. The insurance money would cover everything. Dad responded, I know, it's the only way we can afford it now. We just have to hope nothing happens before then. I stood frozen in the hallway, my heart pounding so loud I thought they'd hear it. They were talking about me dying, so my little brother could go to college. I'm 19, Brandon's 16. He's the smart one. Straight A's, science fair winner, already accepted to 3 universities. Me? I barely graduated high school. I work at the auto shop on 5th Street changing oil and rotating tires. I still live at home because I can't afford my own place. The next morning at breakfast, I couldn't look at them. Mom asked if I wanted eggs. I said no. Dad asked if I was feeling okay. I said I was fine. Brandon was excited about some chemistry project. Mom and Dad smiled at him like he'd hung the moon. At the shop, my boss Danny asked what was wrong. I told him I was just tired, but I kept thinking about what I'd heard. Insurance money. If something happens to him, the only way we can afford it. I started noticing things. Mom had been asking me weird questions. Did I wear my seatbelt? Was I being careful at work? She even asked if I'd updated my emergency contacts. Dad had been quieter than usual. He'd look at me during dinner with this sad expression, like he was already grieving. 2 weeks went by. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that conversation. Then last Friday, I came home early. My shift got cut. I walked in and found them at the kitchen table with papers spread everywhere. Life insurance documents, bank statements, college tuition costs. They looked up. Mom's eyes were red like she'd been crying. I confronted them right there. I told them I'd heard what they said about the insurance money, about hoping nothing happens, about it being the only way to afford Brandon's college. Mom's face went white. Dad stood up so fast his chair fell backwards. What? No, honey, no, that's not. Mom started crying harder. Dad came around the table. He put his hands on my shoulders. We weren't talking about you. We were talking about Grandpa. I didn't understand. What? Mom wiped her eyes. Grandpa called that night. He'd been to the doctor. They found something. He wanted to discuss his life insurance policy. Dad nodded. He has Brandon listed as the beneficiary for the college fund portion. He set it up years ago when Brandon was born, but the policy expires when he turns 75 next month, and the doctors said he didn't finish. He didn't need to. You weren't talking about me? God, no. Mom stood up and hugged me. She was shaking. We would never. How could you think that? I told them everything. How I'd been standing in the hallway, what I'd heard, how I'd spent 2 weeks thinking they wanted me dead. Dad sat down hard. He put his face in his hands. Mom kept hugging me. I'm so sorry. We should have told you Grandpa was sick. We were trying to figure out how to explain it. The papers weren't about me at all. They were helping Grandpa update his policy, making sure Brandon's college fund was secure, figuring out how to pay for Grandpa's medical bills. They showed me everything, explained everything. Grandpa had stage 4 lung cancer, smoker for 40 years. Doctors gave him maybe 6 months. He'd set up that insurance policy when Brandon was born because he wanted to make sure at least one grandkid could go to college without debt. He'd done the same for me when I was born, but I'd used that money for my first car when I was 18. Mom and Dad had been crying that night because they were losing Grandpa, not because they wanted me gone. I called Grandpa the next day, told him I'd heard about the cancer, asked if he wanted company. He laughed. That rough smoker's laugh. Get over here. Bring cards. I've been going to his place every day after work for 3 weeks. We play cards, watch baseball. He tells me stories about when he was young. He talks about Brandon's college fund, says he's proud he could do that, wishes he could have done more for me. I told him he's done plenty. He raised a good dad, and that dad raised me. Last night he asked me something. You think your parents love your brother more than you? I said no, not anymore. He nodded. Good, because they don't. They just show it different. Your brother needs college money. You need something else. What do I need? He dealt another hand. You needed to know someone gives a damn whether you live or die. Now you know. He died yesterday morning, peaceful, in his sleep. The funeral's next week. Brandon's college fund is secure, and I finally understand what Grandpa meant.